Good evening, everyone, and welcome to GRAPPL FPL Club, live here for Game Week 29 preview Happy WrestleMania week, lads. What are you looking forward to? Bloodsport, Yellow Spring. Oh, wait, wrong show. Hello. WrestleMania week begins here, Jamesy.
You have plenty of time for that during the week now, Benno.
This is the proper way to start it. We got a proper big game week coming up, so that is the reason we're here on a Wednesday night, because I'll be otherwise engaged reviewing horrendous wrestling shows from car parks, I assume, over the weekend at some point. You doing any of that over on Graps and Claps, Andy?
None. Absolutely none.
Is Jordan Oliver your line in the sand? Is that it?
Yeah, we used to do it during like the COVID era, but I have enough with the British wrestling stuff, and I've got a free weekend from that just for the WrestleMania stuff. Free trial as well, 7 days. I don't have to borrow Chrissy's long password for a change.
So he's your GRAPPL, Gareth. That's how this works then, yeah?
Yes, for these sort of weekends, yes.
You'll be watching any of it, lads? Oh, the fight books, remember them? Yeah, dead now, Mark. You don't need them anymore.
You have to go online and beg people to use your link to buy a show. And
I was making graphics.
I'm just one short. If I could watch Spring Break, if I get one more free book.
Yeah. There was that one year where I was literally like richer in fight books than it probably wasn't real money. That was it. It was like, if I could have transferred, I probably could have bought a house at one point instead. I just bought GCW shows. Are you above it now, James? Are you done with the Mania weekend? Is it just footy this weekend? Is that the plan?
Like it is Mania weekend. I mean, and it is. It's so like you can literally, as you guys told me in a group chat earlier, for a free trial on Fight Plus. I'll get the free trial and I'll have a little look. I would always watch Bloodsport. I always have a soft spot for the Bloodsport, and the ROH show looks very, very good. You'd have to say that looks like you couldn't argue with the card he's put together. I think that's Tony Khan's real calling, just putting together really good cards with no build-up. Forget the build-up, forget the storylines, forget the TV. Just putting together really good matches that everyone's going to like. And I'll find a way to watch that. Put it that way. I think my days of staying up till silly o'clock now to watch some of these shows are probably gone. But I'll definitely do my best to catch Bloodsport at some point. The ROH show, Mania. I'll pick and at some point on Monday maybe I'll pick and choose based on what I hear people saying. See if your hero can do it. Benno, Cody can finally be the first member of the Rhodes family to get to the top of the mountain. Isn't that right?
Invested there you go. It's the big story, you know. Can he just really? It's two fingers at Tony Khan and the Indies. I don't buy this whole like scrubbing the names of companies in the middle of his belt and all that stuff.
Maybe CW were on there, weren't it?
I believe so. Yeah. All of the big stars. But that's it. You'll be getting a text from me now Saturday morning, James. You go, "Oh, JP's dropped out. Bloodsport review, yeah? You sound? You dropped yourself in there, mate. Now I know you're watching it."
The problem is that was always a night. Is that Thursday night or Friday night?
Thursday. It's about midnight. But there's like always... one or two actual FPL people who listen to us, by the way. This is all wrestling stuff. We apologize. Most of the people watching this know what we're talking about. But yeah, Thursday midnight. It's because it's LA time, isn't it?
It was always the night. The great thing about Bloodsport is it was always like the 8 or 9 p.m. one on the Friday, and it was grand. You could watch it and not be dead for work the next day. But this midnight is ridiculous. That could be the clincher for me to not watch it, to be honest, until later anyway. You know.
Yeah, that time difference. I think there's an NXT show me and JP realized yesterday's happening at like 10 in the morning. Like one of the days, it's just like people are going to be having the breakfast watching like just terrible performance center wrestlers. But that's it. You're going to be watching it, Chris. We have should start there. Good to have you back, mate. We missed you last time.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Definitely missed. You weren't hiding after that wild card. You know, you were just
no.
You were live engaged.
We'll get into it, but I think the wild card's working out better than the original first week. So. That's fine, but probably won't be picking up much on the wrestling live. I'll be watching it during the week because I work from home. I can watch everything, like just as I've got it, like have it on in the background. So that's probably more how I'll have things. But I was just going to say, as a San Francisco 49ers fan, I understand the idea of having to watch things at a ridiculous time live for when they're happening on the West Coast, because the Niners usually don't play until at least 1:30 a.m. or sometimes even 4 a.m. over here. So it's always quite fun. I do remember that time they had the Mania at San Francisco and the Undertaker made his entrance in the middle of 90-degree weather or whatever, and it just looked completely obscure.
Yeah,
obscure.
at least dark.
Yeah, exactly. You could have waited until sunset to send the Undertaker out or something. But yeah, it was. See how it all goes, I guess, with the time frames. As I say, I think I'll probably be catching most things Monday or Tuesday.
Good shows. Well, it's the same with the footy though, isn't it? It's the other way around. Like whenever I'm watching my legally acquired USA Network team, shout out to Chris Elliott in the chat. I'll be watching like the footy, and you forget watching it, and it's like happy breakfast here on USA Network, and it's like 6 a.m. and they're all getting up to watch the footy. It's just it's like us with New Japan, same thing, isn't it? That's I suppose like we've got to be hardcore to be wrestling fans over here. Over there, you'd have to be hardcore, wouldn't you, to be like a Premier League fan? You have to put the work in.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I see sometimes there's a Blackburn Rovers fan club that are based in New York and stuff, and they have to go to some extreme lengths to try and find a version of the game they can watch live and all together and stuff. So yeah, there's definitely some people that put the mileage in and the odd hours in to try and follow a football team from over here.
Yeah, I always think that though. It's like I feel bad enough for like when there's like Everton supporters clubs, and it's just like, I mean, come on, guys. If you weren't born into this, like, why would you put yourself through it? So like, just like you could have chose anyone, and you went with us. And it's like, no offense, but I imagine some of those Blackburn supporters are probably born around like a certain time in the 90s, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have thought so. Yeah, yeah, I thought they'd have that sort of thing. We've also recently had a big influx of Chilean fans, obviously with Brereton Diaz, so I'm sure they've had a bit of a culture shock when they've flown over for the game and had to see what Blackburn's like.
So James's water bottle's more over than anything on this podcast. You going for the full Alan Farrell CM Punk? Is that what's happening here? Prime athletes drink the water.
Yeah. I've had a 1 litre for ages, and the problem with the 1 litre is you drink it, and then I'm too lazy to go back to the sink and fill it again. So my wife finally solved my laziness problem by getting me this absolute unit. Have you guys got Primark over there?
Yeah. Isn't it pennies over there?
It's pennies in Ireland, and it's like you go there and get your pajamas and your socks and your underwear, and then random things. When you're standing in the queue and there's just these random things like boxes of mints and toothbrushes and toothpaste, and she spotted this bottle and said, "That's the bottle for you." So it's like a good wife.
Little Alibaldi stuff in it,
keeping me hydrated. Exactly. Yeah.
Love it. Oh, well, I suppose we should talk the footy stuff. I was going to say, lads, it feels like it's been a while, and it has been a while. Fucking internationals will do that to you, won't you, over the weekend. I'm sure your lot have still been playing, haven't they, Andy? Didn't you have a manager change going on over there?
Yeah, so we lost to third bottom Crawley, meaning we're 11 points off safety. Oof. Doomed. Sacked the manager on Monday. Planning for the conference for the first time in about 110 years. So trips to see the Wealdstone Raider coming at me like, you want Sam?
Oh, you'll be beating Wrexham in the middle. Like I didn't know you out there. I didn't know Nick Chadwick was your assistant manager.
Yeah,
Great hope in Everton.
Yeah, we had Nick Chadwick and we also had Phil Jevons, who was, I think he was another like Everton sort of thing. I think the manager we sacked, Jim Bentley's an Everton fan as well, so he's had a proper shit season. Like, the team he's managing's rubbish, and the one he supports is rubbish. But hopefully it's onwards. But who knows? There's a lot of teams in that National League now. It's basically another version of League Two. They're all professional. They've all got more money than us.
It's a dogfight, isn't it?
Cool. Doom and gloom.
Yeah, I think it's something I read earlier said that there's not been a team that's been promoted out of the National League in the last decade that's gone back down. Like, it's just like there's all the money teams are coming up, and all the, like you say, they're already professionals. Wrexham have already got a team that's good enough for League One. The same as County when they came up last year.
Definitely.
Already have a team that's ready for League One. Yeah,
FPL manager extraordinaire Ben Foster of Let's Talk FPL fame. Like, he's playing.
Not been
FPL,
Oh, he's a big FPL guy. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
He's done stuff
there's not been a better marrying. Not been a better marrying of a like an ownership and a player. I think because if Ben Foster wasn't coming out of retirement for Newcastle, Wrexham, you were like, a lot of people that wouldn't make sense, but you're like, yeah, Wrexham, that makes sense. I mean, he did play there before as well, sort of thing. So
years ago, wasn't it? I was looking at his Wikipedia, and it was like he was on loan for like 6 months or something 20 years ago. But
he's making a bit much out of that now. Just admit.
so long, Jamesy? Like, I
Yeah.
was looking at his Wikipedia going, when? Like, I was just like, when did he get all these games? Like, I don't recall it at all.
He was their big hope. And they signed him when he was very young. And I think was it Watford they signed him from, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, he was on loan at Wrexham, played in the whatever the cup is, the lower league playing.
Trophy.
Yeah, and Darren Ferguson was in that team, or the manager of that team. So Fergie'd come down to watch it, saw Ben Foster have a blinder of a game, and they picked him up from that.
Yeah, he was only 19, and he was like the big hope. And I think it was one of those ones where he probably should, like 19 years age for a goalkeeper, you should probably spend a few years at a smaller club and maybe make a big move in your mid to late 20s kind of.
Jamesy, probably around the same time as when Tom Heaton were at Man United. Because I remember, well, he's similar to age to Ben Foster. And when he was like 19, 20-year-old, he come on loan to Rochdale for about 2 months, and we ended up not losing a match when he were in net. One of the best keepers we ever had him.
I think it was just too soon for him at United, basically. And he moved on, like, and had a great career, like at Premier League level after that, you know. And I think the attraction of Wrexham for him is the profile and the fact that he's allowed, like, I think the Premier League stopped him putting the GoPro in the YouTube, like a legal thing that he was live streaming or something like that. Whereas in the National League, nobody cares. And like, it's, you know, they're probably going to win the division. He'll end his career with a medal for winning the National League and that kind of thing, and probably gets to do a podcast with Ryan Reynolds and the other guy, and, you know, it suits everybody, really, you know.
These content creators, James, terrible, aren't they?
I could see him doing one more season if they go up, you know. I could see him maybe now, because it's only 7 or 8 games now, isn't it? So I feel like if he has a good year and if he feels all right about it, I think he could. Because the other keeper went down with a knee injury, and you never know how that's going to go. So, you know, they might just go, oh, you know, sign another 12-month contract. And
goalkeepers go on into the 40s now.
Yeah, he's 39, isn't he?
Yeah. So he's still a spring chicken at that age.
I mean, personally, after last year, having to go to see, because I go to see County because they just play around the corner from me. And when they went up and Wrexham didn't, that was one of the funniest things I've lived. When they didn't, not Wrexham in basically in the space of a fortnight, didn't win the league, lost in the cup final at Wembley, and then lost to Grimsby at Wembley as well in the playoff final. Just a phenomenal fortnight, and probably the best episode of We Love Wrexham.
Good for the TV show,
just like everyone absolutely miserable at just consistently losing big games.
I watched that completely spoiler free. Like, I vaguely knew they didn't go up, but I wasn't 100%. And the entire time I watched it, I just stopped myself from Googling anything to do with Wrexham just so I could go through it. And then as it happened, I was like, oh, I remember all of this. So I'm looking forward to the next season. Ben Foster, like I say, of FPL fame. He did like a couple of, like, I think at least 2 different interviews with on the Let's Talk FPL with Andy over there. So I think he does know his stuff. But I don't know what the equivalent is as far down as Wrexham go. But I suppose we should get into that FPL stuff if we have to. And like I said, we should start with you, Chris. You know, we've missed you, mate. You did pull the trigger on your wild card. I don't know if you saw. We did bring up your team. We only made fun of it slightly. I've told James I've got a little spreadsheet now where I'm keeping track of, like, you're not. I'm not saying you did the generic wild card, but I'm kind of saying
you wasn't far off. Yeah,
but you did the wild card at the time. Everyone else did the wild card, and I resisted. And you are now my benchmark. That is the plan. You're not the bench warmers anymore. You're the benchmark.
So
I'm marking my team against you, and I don't know. You want to walk us through it? What was the logic with the wild cards, and how's it going so far?
Yeah, so what we're going to game 26 or 20?
Yeah, it would have been 26, wasn't it, when you pulled the trigger?
Yeah. So as you say, it was the fairly generic team. So Raya in net and Pinnock for the double up for Brentford. Estupinan, who I'm sure you'll all remember, I was very early on saying that he was going to be a really decent option. And
he's on a plane right now, mate. Trying to get back from Australia. People are online checking the flight details. Trying to figure out how quickly you can get, like, a 24-hour journey, isn't it? Like, is he going to be healthy for Saturday? Is he going to be rested? Like, how much sleep does he need? People are getting into that level of detail.
He'll be getting some of those deep muscle massages, as soon as he lands and, all that sort of stuff. I'm sure he'll be fine. Went with the Arsenal triple up of Zinchenko, Odegaard, Saka, Rashford, Mitoma, Ivan Toney, Haaland, Kane. Mitoma had a really good return that week, 13 points. I think that was when the other lad, March, had a goal disallowed. So there was a good swing between those two.
That was a fun Sunday.
Tony scored as well. And then that was about it, really. Saka blanked as captain. So the first week, it wasn't the one that was quite differential for me, Pinnock, because everybody kind of went Henry instead. I went Pinnock because he was slightly cheaper, and he scored that week. So that was a 5-point swing between those two. So I ended up with a 51, which isn't a great score following a wild card, but for a lot of the other people that wild carded and made the changes the other way, so going for Henry and going for March, I ended up double figure points ahead of them. So so I was happy with that. Next week is when it kind of paid off. You can see it paid off. So 101 points on there, which was fantastic. I don't think I actually made a transfer during that week.
No, I don't think so.
No, I didn't. Yeah, so clean sheet for Raya and Pinnock, so good points there. Clean sheet for Stupinam played twice. Stupinam played twice as well. Ended up with 9 points. Mitoma again, double figures. Odegaard 7. Tony was the big one. Captained him. He got 13 points with the 2 goals and 1 goal and 1 assist and the full bonus.
That was
up on 26. I have Kane up top as well, and he got a 13 as well. So that all came in. So crossing the 100 mark for the second time this year, I think, which is probably a bit low, but it wasn't.
I was looking on with jealousy, mate. I was in the 90s, so
I think it was figuring it out. I think when Tony got the double, got the 3 points for the bonus, and then obviously it doubled into 6. That just crossed me over the threshold, so that was nice. And then last week, I brought Billing in from Bournemouth because after 2 goals in 2 weeks, sort of thing. I was like, he must be on a decent hot streak. So he returned a mighty 1 point in there. So that was well worth it. But I would have had a blanking player there anyway. So I guess it's 1 point bonus. The only thing there is I had it on a captaincy on Saka all week. And then on game day, changed it to Kane. So there was a bit of a point swing there. So Kane ended up with 6 points, obviously going to 12 with the captaincy. And Saka ended up with 18 points. So
I believe you, unlike some of the other the people out there on video going, you were never considering Saka, like you never were. You were always going Kane. But that's a real switch for that one.
Havertz I brought in as well for Haaland, and Havertz returned, so that was worth it. That was it really. I think the thing I've taken away from this year is, if you're captaining somebody against Haaland, it's got to be a midfielder, because the additional point for a goal and the chance of getting clean sheet bonus is about the only way to negate the idea, how many goals that Haaland could, potentially return. So if you get a midfielder that scores 1 and keeps a clean sheet,
that makes sense.
You're about equaling out Haaland scoring 2. So that's about really all I've really managed to figure out this year. But so that's where we're up to at the minute. And then obviously we've got the team coming up for this week, which I think at the minute I've probably got 12 doublers. And then we'll see if I fancy making more moves. But
I mean, we'll get into 29 in a bit, but was that kind of the thought process with the wild card? Was it'll get me through, that initial double, it'll get me through the 28 blank, and then just set up well for what, bench boost next week? Is that the long-term kind of strategy?
So bench boost this game week, and then free hit in 32, because I'm kind of backed into the corner now. I can't really get to 34 without using when I've looked through, I'd end up with like 6 or 7 players without before I have to start taking hits. and they're not the best 6 or 7 players on the team. So I'm figuring I'll probably just free hit in that week, get the Man City guys in, that sort of thing. And then, just move from there. And then I think you can kind of negotiate 34 and 37 when you've got the big double game weeks just with your free transfers.
No, that's it. And it was kind of like tried and tested. It was like I joked about it being like the content creator wildcard, but that was what happened, wasn't it? That that initial week, they all went with it. Everybody kind of ended up in the same boat with the the whole missing out on Salah points. Feels like ancient history, but way back when. So ruin that, but set up well for where we are now and going forward. I think we talked about it last time. My only biggest caveat was like for me, doing the wild cards for a bench boost so far in the future just worried me way too much. And it seems like you've navigated it pretty well, and you're gonna be all right going into next week. So
I mean, as long as
some teams out there with 2 goalies who aren't playing anymore, isn't there? With stuff with Ward and the Brighton goalie situation as well. Like there's some very unlucky people out there who pulled that wild card button the same time as you.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're probably the biggest casualties. I mean, as long as Rashford and Havertz are just international break injuries, then everything should be fine. And I don't not seeing anything to say that that they're going to be out for this coming game week. So it should hopefully be fine. Estupiñán, I just say, I mean, he's coming back from Australia, but that game had finished our time Wednesday evening, so there's plenty of time for him to fly back. And it won't be the first. I mean, he plays for Ecuador. It's not like he's used to short, hot flights, the sort of thing.
Exactly.
And then coming home, he flies to South America every international break. So,
putting a lot of stock in that. I think. Like I came back from LA and I podcasted that night, James. You know what I mean? Like, if I can do it, that's 11 hours, but still,
I think the big thing with Estupiñán as well is there's not a good replacement for him in that team. If he was, middle of defense or whatever, they've got quite a few central defenders. But when they've tried somebody else in that position, even if it's like McAllister or somebody, it's not as good sort of thing. So I think he even if he doesn't start, he'll probably get 45 minutes.
It's usually that Tariq Lamptey, isn't it?
Tariq Lamptey, but I think he's out injured at the moment.
Injured,
right.
So it's not like they've got anybody.
Yeah. And the other thing is, like, there's about 4 of their squad in the same position. Like Caicedo plays for Ecuador as well, so he'll be on the same flight with Estupiñán. McAllister is playing for Argentina, whose match kicked off after Ecuador's match. Matoma was playing somewhere a long way as well. So like, they're not going to rest all these guys. You know what I mean? As long as they come back in one piece and they're reasonably okay, I reckon he'll field them all, to be honest. And it is a double. You know what I mean? So like, even if he just gets 45 minutes or something like that, with Estupiñán, he gets so far forward that he's not like other defenders where you need the full 90 out of him. If you just get 45 out of him, like he scored a penalty for Ecuador over the international break as well. He has goals in him. He has assists in him. I think it's just, I think FPL Twitter likes to talk itself into a panic nearly, doesn't it? Like, and if
when it comes out to a shoot, maybe, James.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And like, if it's not that, it'll be something else. You know what I mean? And there's so much free time in this international break that there had to be something to think about and worry about and debate about. And like, I had to take if you have him, you're not going to sell him. You know what I mean?
I had to take like a week off listening to FPL stuff because it was such like anything that anybody's saying in this first week of the international break doesn't mean anything until after the games because. You it's all conjecture. You can do a little bit of planning, but you can't be, restricting your thoughts to this player or this player because there's so much time in between and so many games that are being played that until like now is the time that you start doing concrete thoughts on actual players and where you want to go with things.
And the other thing is that the Brighton manager De Zerbi he's really good in press conferences where he's not one of these managers that says, oh well, like Pep who'll tell you nothing. De Zerbi very much will say X, Y, and Z is available. X, Y, and Z isn't going to play, and there's no big thing about it. Like so, if by I think Friday is the deadline, isn't it? He'll be doing his press conference Friday morning. If he genuinely isn't going to play Estupiñán, he probably will say it there and then. So you'll have your chance to, if you really want to move him on. But like, why sell him anyway? You know what I mean? Like he's got another 3 doubles after this anyway. He's got a nice run of fixtures. Both games in the double are good. So I mean, I think it's just people who don't have them almost looking for a reason to spook people. But I think that's what FPL Twitter does. If you don't have someone, you spook the people who do have them. If you do have them, you think of a reason why you keep them. You know what I mean? But
I've been looking at Dunk, mate. I've been thinking, oh, maybe Dunk. I was checking if Shane Duffy still plays for them. I've been looking at all.
Wasn't there a famous double game week once where Shane Duffy got something like 25 points or something like that?
I feel like wasn't the opposite true though? Wasn't the one where he got like 0, like a -1 or something?
Yeah, he did a 25 pointer, I think, one season, and then the next season Brighton had one, and everybody lumped on him, and he either got injured in the first game or did something silly and ended up like with 1 point or -1 or something crazy like that. Yeah.
FPL legends. I've got one like that in my team. I can talk about in a minute, but we should go to your lot, Jamesy. Obviously, we got the 2 weeks to catch up on. We were previewing game week 27 last time we were on. We talked a lot of theory going forwards, but in the end, you took the 4-point hit to make 105. You made a controversial decision in game week 28. I'm looking forward to grilling you on, but take us through your couple of weeks since we last spoke, Jamesy.
Yeah, that was a good week. And I had done my wild card the week before, Chris. I had done mine in 25 because I didn't like game. Yeah, well, it was just that I didn't like my team. Remember, 25 was that blank double game week where there were a few blanks and there's a few teams, and I just really didn't like my team that week. So I just did. I looked at the wild card and found that I could get myself a good team for that, get 6 players for this week for 27. Cover myself for 28 and still be okay for the week that's upcoming now. So the wild card in terms of getting 6 for this week, I couldn't be happier with it. Like if you look at the 6 doublers that week, like Rhea, Henry, Estupinan, Mitoma, March, Tony, all returned in some way. I think the first game of it wasn't, the first game of the double wasn't brilliant. I think the 2 Brighton guys conceded, so they only got 1 or 2 each. I think Brighton conceded, Estupinan got nothing. It was, I have Solly March, and it was the game of the famous non-goal by Solly March where he scored, and that was another ridiculous week for FPL Twitter where there was people still after it was physically impossible for them to change the rules, still tweeting the poor admin like in FPL on the live FPL account as if he has anything to do with it, like trying to get like there's a specific rule in it that once the end of the day once an hour after the last match on the day that the match happens, that's no matter what happens, they just can't, like, it's locked in and that's it. And then I think about 2 or 3 days later, the Premier League awarded the goal to March. People were still saying make an exception. Like, you can't start making an exception in the middle of the season, because then people will go back through the whole season and find lots of other instances where they should, I owned March, so I mean, I would have benefited from them changing the rules, you know what I mean? But I just
and I think the frustrating thing, Jamesy, was that, like, to be fair, I think what it was the day was, because it's an hour at the end of the day, isn't it? But the game week was still going. So that was like, everyone was just like, come on, guys, you can still change it. It's still going. So I get it logically, but like you say, that, the rules are the rules. And maybe they should change it going forward.
But generally, like, score corrections and that take like a minute or two within the game, don't they? Well, you see it on the video printer and that.
I think what pissed people off was they gave him the points. The goal went in, and they gave him the points, so people were delighted. And then they took him away, so that was the thing. They were saying, could you not reverse that decision, kind of a thing? But look, I think it worked out well. And then in the second game of the game week, he scored anyway, so it was a bit like, okay, we got our points from March anyway.
That was a nice brilliant, to be fair.
Yeah, that was a brilliant. That was a brilliant night. It was like there was just the 2 double matches. There was just the second matches of the double. It was Brentford were playing Southampton, wasn't it? And Brighton were playing Crystal Palace, but they weren't even on TV. So like I had my live score app. I was listening to one of the matches. That's the only way I could get any coverage of it, and it was great. Like, literally all my assets returned in those 2 matches. It was a really good night. And Tony scored, and then he scored, and then he got a yellow card, which knocked him down. And it was like, and that took him out of the bonus points. And then with the very last kick of the game, he assisted, I think it was Wissa, for a goal with the last kick, which brought him back up again. So it was like, it was a good night. And Tony was the 13-pointer. Him him or Kane were the right captain choice that week for me anyway. Little bit of a pity, like Odegaard and White left their points, but like, who would I have left out for those guys either? I wasn't going to leave out Rashford. I'd never leave out Saka at the moment. The 3 defenders I had is Trippier and 2 doublers. So I mean, you have to look back at that decision to go, like, I would make that decision over and over. And I think anytime there's a 100-point week, you're not going to complain. As I said, really, really happy with that.
Good work, but keep still flying into the getting near the top 1,000 or so. We'll look at the overall rank in a minute. But you had a good game week 28 as well, considering it's a blank game week. You weren't tempted to take any hits. You did the move we talked about. Haaland's out, Watkins is in. I don't know, with Haaland's yellow flag now, I'm not as cocky. I was like you were saying in our private chat, I'm betting against it. I'm going Haaland with 1 game versus Watkins with 3 games. I understand the logic people going with Watkins, but I'm still going to back Haaland. It depends on if he plays this week coming up. That might fuck my entire plan.
And like I almost feel the move I made has gone against my style of play all season has been stay safe and keep the commonly owned assets and, don't do anything silly, stick with the tried and trusted. But I maybe got a little bit carried away with the doubles, but like we won't know the outcome of it until the end of the next game week, because Watkins still has 2 games, whereas Haaland just has 1. It's not a great start that Watkins has 5 points. Like if you own Haaland, I don't think you're looking at that. And like, if Watkins had got a 12-pointer, you'd be saying not even Haaland can catch that up when Watkins has 2 more games. But 5 points is still doable for him, And like, typically, what happened? Like the week we did it, what did he do? He scored. Was it? How many got 5 goals in the game in the Champions League?
5 goals against Leipzig. Yeah.
Scored a hat trick in the FA. Scored 8 goals in 2 games since we all made that decision, and it's a bit like, oh Jesus Christ, what have we done here? Like, and I mean, it's Liverpool in the early kickoff. That Liverpool high line, that Liverpool defense. I will be absolutely. I don't think I'll watch that game, to be honest. I think I'll just go and hide and just check the score at the end of the game, because that could be a hairy one. Like if Liverpool defend like they have been this season,
Yeah, I think I saw Liverpool give away like either the highest or the second highest amount of big chances per game. So it's just like, well,
it would
if
be
they play
very
like
handy.
that against Haaland,
It would be very handy if that injury was legit, to be honest. I really hope he's not, or even on the bench or something like that. That'll be the greatest stroke of luck of all if he's completely ruled out, to be honest.
Him and Rashford, it's away. It's all away. There's no way. Yeah. Rashford he was in New York with Matty. Nothing around there. Like
he was at the wedding. But
Baron Corbin,
I think that the Rashford one, if people are worried about Rashford's yellow flag, I wouldn't panic too much. The Haaland one seems a bit different, because he did go away with Norway and was examined by the doctor, and then it was kind of said go home, whereas I think Rashford just never went to England in the first place. So and then his father had now I mean, his dad could be playing silly buggers as well, and I don't know, but he did say it's a genuine injury. He's been in Barcelona getting it checked out and that kind of thing. So it would do my blood pressure no amount of good if it's a genuine injury and he just sits out that game and is back for game week 30 when I plan to bring him back in.
I think particularly with Haaland, you'll think they needed him for that game against Spain, and then
they were huge matches for Norway.
And Georgia was the other one, and they've drawn that away. So Norway's chance of the qualifications probably down. Because Scotland have already picked up points against Spain, so Norway have got an uphill battle just to get second now.
And he's going to want to play at a major.
He's got to play. He's got to play in a major tournament at some point, hasn't he?
Exactly. It's got to be a huge ambition for him. So it's not as if he missed a Nations League game week, or he missed a couple of friendly games. And England, yes, Rashford's playing great, but England have 3 or 4 players who can play on the left instead of Rashford, whereas Norway, they're very much reliant on Erling Haaland. So my gut instinct says the Haaland thing is legit, and it remains to, and we won't know. Pep won't give it away. He won't say anything. There's a strong chance of another server crash, is what I would say, because it's the early kickoff.
It'll be another 10:45.
There will be lineup. And in a way, I'm happy that I don't have him, because I'm not going to bring him in now. I've made my decision. I'm going to stick to it. For owners, it's a little bit different. If you have him and you do hear an hour before kickoff he's not playing, like Benno, I presume if you did get a leak and you get a chance to get on, you would be selling him and getting rid of him, Or would
Well,
you?
I'll be
I
up
don't
till
know.
5 in the morning watching Joey Janela's Spring Break, so we'll see whether I actually get up.
At that point, your brain will be mush anyway. So,
in this week, I would love to make Friday night transfers. I know I'm not going to be able to.
yeah.
But when we get to my team, I'm a mess right now. My bench booster's in doubt. Like it's going to take one more domino to fall, and I don't think I'm going to be able to pull the trigger, which is going to kill my plan to go against the Chris Linnaeus of the world, the wild carders. So yeah, and I'll be the same. I'll be checking for news all day. But no, overall, James, you still happy? Still flying there, aren't you? Overall, it's going to bring your overall rank up there, 4,201 right now.
Absolutely delighted. I have to say, my hero of the game week was Tyrone Mings, who I brought in on the wild card as a kind of the 16th man that I bought, kind of a thing. Had needed to get somebody in who I think I needed someone who played in the blanks and who had a double. And like Villa have, he's kept more than one clean sheet for me since I got him. And like I heard a stat that since the new manager took over at Villa, they've they're third or fourth in form. They kind of quietly have been very, very good and much more solid at the back. And like Watkins has been banging them in, you know what I mean? So you could do worse than a punt on a Villa player for the next few weeks as well, you know. But yeah, like he could have scored. Mings, I was watching the highlights. He had a header as well in the box in that game. He was very close to an 18-pointer, like, and that 12 points from him kind of negated the. Like I backed the wrong captain. I think most of us captained Kane, whereas Saka was the man. Yeah. But Mings' 12 points there kind of kept me up with the Saka captainers in a way, you know, like my Kane plus Mings.
Most people, you're right. Anyone, if I saw a team with 61, I'd think, oh, they captain Saka. Like that is quite rare, isn't it? Like overall, so
a nice bit of luck there that I had Mings and played him, like, you know what I mean. So yeah, like it was. Blank game weeks often come down to the captain because it's most people have 9 or 10 players. It's a smaller pool of players. A lot of the teams are the same. If you nail the captain in a blank game week, you're probably fine. And like anybody who captained Saka absolutely skyrocketed in that game week, you know.
Definitely. I'm not going to let you get away, James, without a victory lap here. I just love looking at this. I'm going to bookmark this page and just check it every morning. Just to myself. I'm just like, I'm riding your coattails here.
I do that a bit myself, Benno, to be honest with you. I'm waiting for the bubble to burst, but I'll enjoy it while I can. Yeah, like
down green arrows when you're in 10 and 9,000, like is impressive. But into 5, into 4, top 5k right now. I mean, obviously, you must be looking over your shoulder at like the people who haven't played chips and stuff, but you still got a bit to go, haven't you? Still got your bench boost, still you got your
still got the bench boost and free hits as well. Yeah. I couldn't be happier, to be honest. Like, and you know, like if I played I was on 12,000 and I played my wild card and I've gone up to 4,000. So like, I mean, wow, I can't help but be happy with that. When we look at our teams for next week, there's a few weaknesses in my team that you could probably trace back to exactly what you said, Benno. Like my wild card goes all the way back to 25, which seems like it. So I wild carded then with a view to this week now, which is like 5 or 6 weeks ago. There's a few things in my bench boost team that mightn't be as strong as other people's that might let me down this week, you know. And like when you're up at 4k, any little advantage someone else has over you is going to punish you as well, you know, that kind of a way. But like, Jesus, 4,000, that's the highest I've ever been. I'm not going to complain about that. if I could possibly hang on inside the top 10k for the season, I'd be absolutely over the moon.
Love it. Well, you're our representative, mate. We're all hoping for you. We all know we're not going to catch it at this point, so we've got no choice but to support you. So,
the pressure's on, yeah.
But yeah, we'll have a look at your lad, Andy. Obviously, we'll again catch up on the last couple of weeks, going back way back to double game week 27. Decent haul there, like me, mate. Didn't quite scrape the 100 club, but looking in good shape as well.
Yeah, I picked. Well, it was either Tony or Matoma, weren't it, for captain? So I sort of made a right choice there. The Foden 1 point against Palace. Pep hauled him off after 57 minutes. He did his bloody trick again, didn't he? Arsehole. I think Haaland got the penalty during that game, but they weren't much great shape, City, if I seem to remember, against Palace. I was sort of hoping, like, with my draft team, I had 3 Palace players in that week, and there I were thinking, oh, come on, get a clean sheet, please. Didn't come off. I think the story of that week is like the bench, because of no chips, so 6, 5, and 7. But when you look
regret that bench boost game week 3, mate, or
yeah, it's funny. I was speaking with Chris earlier, and like when I played it week 3 or week 4, I only got 11 points. And boys, you just chance it whenever, and if it comes off, it comes off. But you look at the first 11. Is there anyone from that bench boost you would have put in place of, say Saka that week, what he were playing? Even defense wise, you weren't going to drop me or Raya because they had the double game week.
Yeah, definitely got to be happy with that, mate. No, solid 95, and into the blank game week 47. Oh, still in there with the the average being 33. I think the top 10K average wasn't much higher than that. A low scoring game week, but in the mix there, and only took the one hit there, mate. Three transfers there, -4.
Yeah, so the only hit I made was because I had my 2 free transfers. So I took Haaland out for Watkins. I put James Maddison in place of Foden, and I just thought, well, I sort of need to get like 10 or 11 players on the pitch, and I thought, Ben Davies had been doing all right for a few weeks. I put him in 1 point. Got injured. The thing was, the difference was that week was ever if you captain Saka or not.
Yeah, same.
I do feel so. He would have got 36 points if he were captain. Odegaard, it's my error from like weeks ago, about maybe 6 weeks ago, and I think quite a lot of managers have done it where they drop Martinelli. Martinelli's been the one who's
some content creator in our chat, Andy. You jumped in about 20 minutes before the game week deadline a few weeks ago and said, "Oh, Martinelli doesn't look like he's going to play." So ship him out. Might have disappeared for a podcast or 2 since that. Only messing. Made my own decision, Chris. My fault.
Wait,
he didn't start that game, did he? So
no, you were right. You were right.
That's all I said. I said he's not starting this game, and then he didn't start. So.
But you've noticed over the last few weeks he's sort of taken Nketiah's place up front. And he don't look. I don't know if he's going to get back in. He's got Jesus coming back, but are Arsenal really going to drop Saka? Odegaard's the main playmaker, creating a lot with Xhaka. You're not really going to drop him. So, but do I think will I put Martinelli back in? I don't think I will.
No.
Who else is there? Watkins 5. I thought decent. For me, Watkins, he's not gonna get hat tricks. There's odd cases where he's only gonna. I think it's 1 an assist. That's all I feel like I'm gonna get out of him. But coming up, Villa have got a couple of games here. They've got like decent fixtures. What did Ivan Toney get? He got he had a shocking week.
Oh, that's another one, isn't it? Tony captain.
Yeah, Tony captain. I thought against Leicester, I thought it was a favourable fixture for Brentford at home. Because Leicester,
he was a
good shout. Yeah.
If I'm honest, I considered him more than I considered Saka. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I really gave Saka much thought. Like, he was in my thoughts. A lot of people going that way. It was a Brighton or a Brentford player, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, Arsenal were playing managerless Crystal Palace, weren't they? But it sometimes comes to that where, the Saka manager, there's a bit of a bounce effect. You want to impress someone new coming in. Whereas like Brentford were playing Leicester, and Leicester have not been pulling up any trees. I know I've got like Maddison in at the moment. He seems to be a frustrating one for RGF. He's had him in for the last 3-4 weeks, thinking he's gonna like haul, and he's 4s and 5 points. And RGF took out Saka last week, and lo and behold, he got bloody points, didn't he? It's just where the cookie crumbles, to use another phrase that many managers use. Can't moan at 47 points. I think everyone else got, in general, about the 50 marker, didn't they? Apart from, say, Gareth in our league, who got 70 odd because he captained Saka.
Yeah, that's it. And to me, that's kind of a lesson of the blank game weeks, is like, just the variance isn't massive. Like I always, maybe I'll counteract myself later, but I do think a lot of people are looking at using free hits in another upcoming blank game week. I'm kind of like, I know, but like, what difference is it going to make versus the 8 players you'll probably put out, or the 9 players, if you can, put that many out? Variance isn't that big. I'd rather lump in on one of the big double game weeks coming up rather than use it in a week like that. I did see some people in our league even going free hit this week, and they'll be ruined that. It was just a bit of a throwaway, really.
Well, you probably noticed, like a Ben Davis, if I changed him to a Tyrone Mings, what James he had, it's a difference of 11 points there. So it's fine. It's just cropping up on those like goal scoring defenders who ownership of about 2%.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, my lot, so I'll just go through quickly. Obviously, the game week 27 double didn't quite make it to the 100 club with Jamesy and Chris, but overall happy. Captain Matoma that week, which I thought was a good shout. It was one of those rough weeks though, where you're following it. Like, I've got Tony in my team, but like I was almost cheering against Tony getting anything in that second game. And once he did it was like, the switch. Like there was a point during that weekend where things were looking extremely good for me, going at Matoma over the other Brighton midfielders, obviously with the disallowed March goal, and going against Tony too. But didn't work out at the end. Quite happy I stuck with Kane. Haaland got 6 in that game. Like you guys had a couple of points on the bench, but overall, like say me Brentford defenders came in, so I was quite happy with that as well. So solid little week for the double, if not in the elite triple digits with you guys, but not far off. And then into 28 again, like Andy said, around that average, above I suppose at the 50 point. And yeah, I did bring in Maddison, which was my transfer that week with an eye on the double game week coming up, and he's got a very very decent double game week coming up. So not too mad about that decision. But
I think last time, Benno, you mentioned it about Maddison. That's what got me. That's sort of what got me thinking. Like, yeah, no, he is a good option, because I had folded in, and he's so in and out of the Man City team. I mean, he's injured now for a few weeks, so it's a good thing I have stuck Maddison in.
Yeah, and like I say, lessons learned. I did definitely, because it's exciting in it blanks and doubles. Why we're doing a podcast this week, you start thinking, it's only a -2, not a -4. Maybe I could get that 11th man out. But I was just like, no, I want Haaland going forward. At least I thought I did at the time. Depending on the injury, I want Matoma, I want Rashford, I want Shaw. So I'm not making a move, and I didn't. And yeah, overall, even if it was slightly below some of the other scores there, I was quite happy. And yeah, the only thing that I'm worried about, and I genuinely said to you guys, I somehow missed this on the weekend. Ward there on the bench, I just blanked on that one that he got the 0. I just thought bad day at the office there, and then check the news today, and my bench boost might be in doubt here, lads, as Alan Iverson's apparently come in and is the favourite now of that's been the story, hasn't it? Like say Brighton, it's happened. Yeah. It's happened that as well. Who thought people would have Steele in their teams, going forward? It's a real break. Like for me, that's a killer, because my plan was to not use chips and still be able to wildcard next week when we get into the teams in a minute. No, sorry, bench boost next week when we get to teams in a minute. My bench isn't looking particularly strong right now, with a lot of yellow flags knocking around and Ward sat there, but. It's one of them. We would have killed for it, start of the season if you told us you get it, because Iverson's 3.8, isn't he?
A lot of people had the two of them at the start.
Yeah.
They got the two Leicester keepers because we weren't sure who'd start. And says, look, I'll have one of them, and
that was the move.
Yeah,
that was the move. So. Yeah, overall, though, feeling quite healthy going into the next game week, into double game week 29. And yeah, with that in mind, we should have a look at what's coming up via the magic of Ben Crowlin. Great follow on Twitter. I can't imagine anybody watching this doesn't already follow him, but if you don't, at Ben Crowlin for your fixture planning needs. And yeah, he's got one of his famous spreadsheets up there. And yeah, we did during the break get at least partially the announcements. We now know double game week 34 is 100% a thing. Double game week 37 feels, I'd say, Chris, like it's that's happening. I think it's they say it's like, I think it's the odds of those games slotting there are about 90% at this point. Game week 36, double game week 36 is very, very likely. There was a bit of murmuring, wasn't there, that Brighton double in 36 might well have fell into game week 31 at one point, but we're thinking it's gonna land there. Things are looking pretty settled, aren't they, at this point, Chris?
Yeah, it seems that way. I know that Brighton Newcastle fixture. Everyone was thinking, yeah, that could be 31, and it still could be, but it does feel very late for them to make that decision. But they did make quite a late decision earlier this year, didn't they?
True.
Could see, but even if that's the only match that game that moves, everything else is pretty much in place, so you can build around that. I think obviously 34, if you can hold off your free hit or whatever, as you say, you can probably make a really good team for that double week. 37, I don't think anybody could I mean, you probably could hold it all that way if you wanted to, but I'd have thought 34 would be the best one to use it on, unless you've got a terrible team like I have for 32. But even then, you might be able to negate it with a couple of hits and then claw it back elsewhere. But that's the things you've got to try and plan out for, to see where your potholes and stuff will be.
I'd say, Chris, at week 34, you're definitely going for City United players, aren't you?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean,
Brighton,
but I mean, with having the thing for 34 for me is I've already got 3. I can already get to 3 United and 3 Brighton players.
Right.
So then that means that I won't need to free hit there to get them in, so I can free hit 32 to counteract already having the Brighton and the thingy players. I think I've got like a Bournemouth player. I think they've already got a game there, and a Villa player who I'm planning on bringing in, and that sort of thing. So I think a lot of the team for me is it's lining up so that I free hit 32 and still have the same sort of team that I'd probably look for in 34. But,
The thing about the fixtures is that if you get your team really good for 34, you're sorted for 37, because Brighton double in both, City double in both, United double in both. So I mean, if you're already heavily, like, I would imagine most, like, my plan for 29 now is to go triple United, because if I do that, I know I just hold on to them. They double again in 34. They double again in 37. So that sets me up well for those. We all have triple Brighton already. So like even in the situation Andy is in, where there's no chips left, it's not a disaster whatsoever. Like a lot of the commonly owned teams just double again and again now. You know what I mean? So it actually it's not a struggle for anybody. And 32, the free hit 32, I think is very powerful now, because it means like that's the week then where no United play and no Brighton play and no Man City play. So it's the one week that's the exception. If you're heavily in on those teams with a view to 34, 37, it means then in 32, you can go a totally different way. And the other good thing about 32 is, like, a lot of people are going to sacrifice their Arsenal players this week because they only have a single game. And also Arsenal's fixtures in the next 3 or 4 are quite tough. So it's the one time of the season where people are thinking, I can go without maybe 2 of my 3 Arsenal now. Whereas if you look, Arsenal in 32 have Southampton at home. So if you've gotten rid of those, you can pile in on them on the free hit. A lot of people currently won't have Liverpool players. Sal is hard to get to. He's expensive. The defence isn't great at the moment. If you leave Liverpool alone for this double, look at Liverpool's fixture in 32.
I'd say though, Jamesy, I'd say though that Arsenal's fixture this week at home against Leeds, you could think your Saka, your Martinelli, maybe your older lads could haul more than actually some of the ones with like
That's
2
going to
games.
trip people up.
It's
Yeah,
it's the big debate of the week, I think. Yeah, is like
because the ones with the two games, like say United, I know they got Newcastle and Brentford are not easy, are they? Or anyone with like Newcastle who've got United and West Ham.
I think the justification for just getting the United players now is you get them and they just sit in your team now for the rest of the season. Because even the weeks that aren't doubles, you look at United's fixtures, like it's Everton at home in 30, Forest away in 31, Spurs away 33 might be hard, then 35, West Ham away,
good
36, Wolves at home, 2 doubles in there, Fulham at home in the last. That's a lovely run. You know what I mean?
Have they not got Europe?
I just think get them in.
James, have they not got Europe coming up?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they've Europe and they've FA Cup. I mean, they are going to be playing but the only thing is Ten Hag doesn't rotate. You know what I mean? And he certainly never rests Bruno Fernandes. And I mean, Fernandes.
Oh, he was playing this week, weren't he?
Yeah, most of us have Rashford. So I mean, the next guy to go for will be Bruno. And he literally, Bruno has played the most minutes, I think, of any player in the top 6 leagues in Europe this season. He doesn't rest him. He plays him every single game. You're going to get your 290 minutes out of him in every double game week. The only little risk, I think, towards maybe say the double game week in 37 with United might be that at that point they might have already made top 4 safe. And if they had a European final coming up or an FA Cup semi-final or final coming up, they might at that point start rotating in the league and go a little bit weaker. But that's a problem for 5 or 6 game weeks time. That's not, you plan for the players to play at this point,
Just on United, I think.
Go on, Chris.
I was just going to say, I think with United, as opposed to being wary of, say, a Rashford or Fernandes, Luke Shaw's probably a bigger change because they can always bring in Van Bissaka or
Dallo.
There's more. There's more people that can play in his position than there are that play, the same role to the same level as Fernandes or Rashford. I think he's more of a rotation risk, and there's a lot of people bringing him in this week.
But again, he plays him a lot because I didn't have Shaw for a long time, and there was that run after the World Cup where United were playing great, and I just couldn't get to Shaw. Every week I said I must get Luke Shaw. I could never get to him, and the fecker played every minute, like, you know what I mean. He's playing very well, so
it's always the way, isn't it?
He plays, and he even plays him centre back sometimes. Like if Martinez got injured, he'd be his choice to move into centre back as well. So I just think if we're talking transfers, I'm going to sell Odegaard and Ben White this week, and I'm going to get Shaw and Bruno in. And just when you go onto FPL team and you realize you do those 2 transfers and you get Haaland back in, say in 30, and by the time you get to 34, without making a transfer, you're already on 7 or 8 doublers. Even if you made no transfers, you're flying, and you go to 37, you find yourself on 7 or 8 doublers. It's actually quite easy to navigate the rest of the season. Once we get this 29 and 32 out of the way, it becomes very easy. It's a bit like this double game week. Most people will have lots of doublers, so it's not a worry for people,
Yeah, doublers and Arsenal players. That's kind of like the story of most teams, isn't it? Like that's kind of where a lot of people are.
Yeah. It's the decision of how many Arsenal players do you want to get rid of this week. As Andy touched on, it's like this Leeds game, it could be 6-0 and you won't be surprised, but it could be 1-0 and you won't be surprised. So you kind of play in your hand, and then you're like, for me, and I assume a lot of people, the choice is it Saka or Odegaard that you're getting rid of, and then is it the Zinchenko that you're getting rid of for Luke Shaw or that sort of thing. So, and
then they end up winning 1-0, and you're ruined that you lost the clean sheet points. Rather
it'll be that game where they won 3-2 against Bournemouth, and Reece Nelson and somebody else scored that you'd never heard of, and you're like, well.
Oh, Ben White, weren't it?
And White got the bench.
Yeah.
With the first goal ever.
Yeah.
That's FPL. That's what'll happen.
FPL heritage.
My kind of take on it is that, I think we basically knew how. I mean, it's fell out pretty much how James of Planet FPL kind of predicted things, with a couple of minor differences. But I think things have fell really well for the people like yourselves, Chris and James, who made that wild card earlier on, and now are gonna, move in piecemeal through to the double in 34, and then through to the double in 37. And like you say, the mirror there of teams that are double in both make that absolutely doable. And yeah, the people like me who are holding on to chips, who are kind of hoping for that differential, I'm sure I'll still have it. I'll still be able to, do something where I can, get onto, the hot, new players who might be floating around for 34.
Have you a plan, Benno?
Interest. Well, it's in tatters is the thing. I've got too many chips, Jamesy. That's what you said has happened, because I didn't use.
I got to run out of weeks.
I didn't use triple captain on Rashford that time back. And if I do decide to pull the ripcord and decide not to bench boost this week, actually, I can't even really do that because I need to use my bench boost this week, because I've got triple captain and I've got free hit, and I don't really need to use the free hit in 32. So they kind of need to go in 34 and 37. So like, we plan with, if I was not to bench boost this week, say it did turn out Haaland and Rashford were out on top of Ward being out, like, I'm starting to have to take point hits just to bench boost this week. And I know a lot of people are in that boat, but it just makes the bench boost a little bit, less powerful. If I take a -8 or a -12 just to get one, like, is it really, a bench boost? So things are kind of going a bit poorly there. And there's a part of me that wants me, if that happens, to just concentrate on the starting 11 and go, sod it. No bench boost anymore. I'm just going with the starting 11. I'm concentrating on making that as strong as I can. And I could, in theory, wildcard 33, bench boost 34, and then potentially free hit in 37. But then I've got a triple captain bin in my pocket. I suppose I could use it on Matoma in game week 36. Or
I was going to say, you could use it this week.
Yeah, I could use it this week. That's the other thing.
It's not a great week for captains, though. I'm sure we'll talk. Nobody has a perfect double this week. Like, some people have 2 bad games. Some people have 1 good one, 1 bad one. Like, I think it's West Ham have the best pair of fixtures, probably, because they're at home in both their games. Southampton, Newcastle.
But they're crap, aren't they?
Exactly. Or Forest double. Forest double is nice.
We'll be getting into Jared Bowen territory, won't we?
Yeah, that's it. Benno, would you like? What's your current? Bring up your team there. We'll have a look at your bench boost.
Yeah, I'll throw it up. Maybe it's not as bad as I'm saying. Yeah, this is what I've got. This is the way it's looking right now. If I'm honest with myself, that's the bench. Pinnock.
And how many transfers have you been?
Only the one.
Just one.
So right now, I'd be comfortable taking a -4. But problem is, what I'd like to do is get rid of Ward, and then probably the other weakest player on my bench is Ben White. If I'm saying Odegaard is the stronger of the two, because they're both so cheap, I've got nothing in the bank either. So I literally there isn't really a good combo of 2 players I can go for there. And I'm like 0.1 away from doing a Stupinan, and I can't remember the goalie was I was looking at. I won't go Iverson. I don't think he's as certain as Ward. Yeah, it would have been Steele, but then I'm blocking myself out of another Brighton midfielder though. So that's not really a possibility. So then we're looking at a -8, and then it starts to like, okay, so I'm taking a -8 to have a bench of 2 Brighton defenders and midfielder.
If you went Steele, you only have 2 Brighton, don't you? Or am I?
Yeah, if I go Steele, I'm saying I've got my if I went Steele, the only defender I could afford to switch White to would be a Stupinan. So then that's double Brighton defense.
Could you go Ward to Steele? And then Odegaard is a bit more. Could you go Odegaard to one of the other Brighton midfielders? They're cheaper than Odegaard.
Odegaard to March.
McAllister or March?
That's
not a bad. That's a perfectly like that's my bench. My bench isn't much better than that. Like, I think like you can overthink bench boost as well. It's a fucking nuisance. It's a nuisance of a chip that like. The other thing is, in a way, just get it out of the way and it's gone. And you don't have to worry about it anymore, because
I think that's what
it messes your team up. Then, like your team is your bench is too strong then for weeks afterwards, and you end up wasting transfers just taking money back out of your bench. You know what I mean? So, and if you have a wild card to go, just like
that's
one that I like
bench boost
as
today. Sorry, go on, Chris.
I was just going to say one that I like if you wanted to move out Ben White would be Alex Merino at Aston Villa. who I think is a really good differential. Like that Villa defence, as we've mentioned, is doing really well. He plays in a really attacking role on that left back position. I think he's
Mings.
Yeah, or Mings. Yeah, but Marino's at 4.4. He's the one I'm looking at bringing in. If I was moving on Pinnock, he was.
If I did that, I could take go with Odegaard to March or McAllister, and I could just do Ward to Steele, couldn't I? And that's not too bad. I could live with it. It's a we're talking a -8 though. Is the only thing that hurts me. And I think, like I say, the reason I'm on the edge is then what if Rashford becomes a problem? What if Haaland's a problem?
Yeah,
that's where it's
that's
like
another transfer then.
One more problem. And it's not worth -12. I mean, what you expect on a bench boost to come back? Like realistically, you got 4 players who all might play twice. You see what
16.
At the same time, you've got to think Ward's not going to play. White's only playing once, and Odegaard's only playing once, and the people that we'll be bringing in will all be playing twice. So it should balance out, and there'll probably be better players going forward because you're going to get more games from the Brighton players going forward. Villa probably have more games than Arsenal because Arsenal don't double for the rest of the season, and I think Arsenal and Villa don't miss a week at all, and they've got the double this week, sort of thing. So, I mean, there are ways to do it. I mean, I was watching FPL Salah a little earlier today, and he's contemplating a -12 just to get his team into where he wants it for the rest of the season. And it's not just that it's this specific week, even though the moves he makes, looking at making, could all pay back this week and equal out that -12. But over the course of the remainder of the season, with the amount of more games those players that are coming in are going to play, it's going to catch up to it, as opposed to doing it piecemeal each week sort of thing. Take the big hit now, and then you've still at least got those 1 free transfers to move around later on, sort of thing.
But Benno doesn't have to think that long term because he has
no. Oh yeah, he's got all the chips as well. Yeah,
I think get the best you can out of this week, Benno, on your bench, and play it, and then that's a chip gone, because then you could still wildcard 33, and have a make sure that gets you the best possible team for 34, but then play your triple captain in 34.
That was the original plan,
and then that's gone, and then keep your free hit for 37 or 38.
Benno, I was going to say Marcus Rashford. It says here he was in training on Monday. So should be fine.
I think I have no doubt he'll play.
Yeah, I think there was another yellow flag as well, like Brennan Johnson, who's down as a yellow flag, but he played. It says groin injury, but he played 90 minutes the last game, so it's all loaded.
Yellow flagged, isn't he? I noticed that because he was. I was looking at it going, well, if I move things around, could I bring him in goal? I think, like I say, I looked at it and I was, to be honest, the other thing that was helpful was, I watched Burning Questions today on Scout. And they were comparing, okay, well, for the people who were considering holding on to the bench boost, if you bench boosted 34, what's it going to look like? If you're afraid of bench boosting even if I left things as they are, and a lot of people are in this boat with the 3 Arsenal players with Leeds at home, in 34, realistically, you're going to have single game week players, aren't you? They're probably going to be Newcastle players or something like that. And is that really better? Probably not. So, I mean, like I say, barring a disaster, I think I probably will stick with it, but I've definitely... I'm wavering more than I was.
I think what you could think of is if you do wildcard 33, you're going to end up getting Salah, and you'll triple captain Salah 34 because he's got Tottenham and Fulham at home. And the rest of that season for Liverpool, Brentford at home, Leicester away, Villa at home, Southampton away, you might as well have 3 Liverpool players in the team by then. With that run of fixtures at the end of the season. So
Haaland too.
You would hold your Liverpool then from 34 for sure, because they don't double again in 37. You're actually spoiled for choice for triple captain choices in 34, Benno, because City have Fulham away, West Ham at home, United have Villa at home, Brighton away. Even Brighton have 2 home games, Wolves and United. Any of those is a good triple captain
the week
choice
for the
there.
chip,
that's it. If you wild card 33, you could probably get 3 Liverpool, 3 City, or probably 2 City because of rotation, 3 United and 3 Brighton. And you hold all of them for the rest of the season, really.
That's it. And you can make sure you have Salah, Fernandes, Rashford, Haaland, all the big boys like that. That would be hard for people to get with you know, people will be taking that week. People will be taking -4s, -8s because you're getting big assets in for it. Like, so straight away by taking no hits and playing your wild card, you'll be ahead of all those again. You know what I mean? So it's like
that's it. And I think the pessimist in me is like, oh, but then will I really need to be free hitting 37 because it's going to be the same players? You don't know where you are. And I know I'm going, oh, it's so terrible. I've got all these chips, but I think in 37 things could have changed massively. You know, the informed players might be different. People are getting dropped. You know, certain teams are taking things more seriously.
And again, you won't take a hit. And again, people will take -4s, -8s, -12s. People go mad for doubles. Like in all these doubles, you'll be playing a chip instead of taking hits. So like the cumulative effect is like there will be some people over the course of those game weeks that might take -20 in hits, you know, between maybe at -12 here and -8 there. You're taking none. So I mean, you're straight away you're ahead just by not taking, by knowing you have these huge game weeks. You get the best team out every week and you're not taking any hits.
Thanks, lads. I feel better now. There you go. You're better than FPL.team. People should use that also, by the way.
We're good friends now.
If anyone's in the same boat as me and taking that advice, also bear in mind, which I've been considering, the transfers you make this week might affect whether you need that free hit in 32 or not. So if I too heavily invest in Brighton and other teams like that, I'm gonna come unstuck then. But outside of that, FPL.team for all your planning needs, I'd highly recommend it. But yeah, that's the way I'm leaning. Like I say, I could have a panic over the next couple of days if anything else happens, but. I mean, so that's I've obviously got all those chips up. I'm the opposite of. I guess I am the new Mr. Chips at this point. But so Chris James, you've got bench boost this week and then a free hit for 34 or 37. Is that the lay of the land overall? That's what we're all sitting on.
Yeah, I have the free hit. 32. I'm 32, pretty much. Right. I'm committed to 32 because at the moment, if I go onto FPL team, I have 9 players for 32, but like between now and then I'm going to sell 2 Arsenal, so that's down to 7. I'm going to sell Ivan Toney to bring in Haaland next week, that's down to 6. So now I'm down to 6 players, and like I said earlier, it's not a great 6. Like the players you would want that week are the Arsenal players, and like Arsenal, Liverpool have the 2 really good fixtures in 32. So if you're not, I'm not going to have any of those in my team going into 32. So straight away there's justification for replaying the chip and attacking those 2 fixtures and then loading up around that then with other players, you know what I mean? So I'm perfectly, I know I can happily now sell my, like if you don't have a free hit to play in 32, you should be less enthusiastic about selling Arsenal players because you need them for 32. Brentford players, you need them for 32. Whereas I can happily sell my Arsenal players now knowing that in 32 I'm going to play the chip anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is that kind of how your thought process is at the minute, Andy? Is it like I know for the transfers in you made last week, it seems to be players where you're thinking, okay, they'll do me for going forward as well. They'll it's a balancing act, isn't it? You know, going into these last few weeks with the chips.
Yeah. Well, I'd say currently I've only got like 2 Man United players, so I'm not really, that week 32 where there's a blank. I've got 2 United. 2 Brighton, so that's 4. So I can easily put 11 out. I've got no Man City players in my team, even though I said 10 minutes ago, oh, you'll probably need Man City for that double in 34. But I think Haaland's coming in next week when he's got a much easier fixture. I was one of those who decided, take him out for a couple of weeks because he had a blank week, and Liverpool this week. Liverpool, Man City always struggle against them. I know they were saying that they've got like a high line of defence and that, but did them over last time, didn't they?
Yeah, you never know.
Kept Haaland quiet, if I remember.
Yeah. No, very, very quiet that game. But with this week, I'd only done. I got rid of Ben Davies because he were injured and put Luke Shaw back in. It's the most obvious one. The thing is with this week, it's because you've got a load of players who have got doubles. It's just trying to see who's got the hardest ones of the doubles to put on your bench. Where I've done like Badashiel for Chelsea. I might get shut of him maybe. A couple of weeks down the line. A Stupin and I've just stuck on the bench for now. depending how quick he's
You're going to be waiting outside the airport. Just crock him in the leg or something like that as he gets off the plane.
But as you explained earlier, they've got 3 or 4 who've got long haul flights, so they could, more than likely could play all 4 of them. But maybe if I do swap him in, it'd probably be for Ben Mee, because the Stupid Hound's more attacking than Ben Mee, even though Ben Mee's good from.
Fixtures. I'd say the fixtures are stronger there as well. Rather than Mee's got United away, hasn't he? I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd trust Brentford there. That might be.
But and you already have the keeper as well. So do you really want the double, Andy? You know that way.
But then again, I know it was start at season. It starts at season when Brentford battered Man United. Yeah. When we're back in the heady days of when we're all picking Josh De Silva in midfield.
Despite that goal being like a 0.01 XG, and everyone was like, "There's no way you can keep scoring these goals from miles out." Everyone was no, getting him in. He's 4 million.
Yeah, I'm sort of no worries about putting the captaincy on Rashford this week. Yeah. He's in great goal scoring form for United. I know Maddison could be an option. He's got Palace away and Villa at home.
I just inherently trust him.
You can't trust him. Just
don't.
Harry Kane against Everton could get a couple, but Tottenham, I still don't know. They're like 4th place in the league. Shows how bad the league is. At times, if they're 4th.
They haven't got a manager. They haven't got a sporting director. Like, what's going on over there?
New manager bounce, though.
Yeah,
they might be all delighted to see the back of Conte and play with a bit of freedom. You never know,
I mean, they also do have a guy that plays up front there that's returned in 78% of the games this season. So
exactly.
That does help.
When they're playing shite,
Exactly. It doesn't matter how bad the team is as long as Harry Kane's there.
Thing is with Tottenham, they maybe needed a manager they already had Mourinho, didn't they? But a manager that just says these home truths, saying,
well, it's the person at the top that doesn't listen to the home truths more than the players, isn't it? I think the players seem to have this mentality where they buckle all the time, which no manager seems to be able to overcome. And then they've got an owner that doesn't want to listen to what the manager wants. So.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I can't believe the Tuchel and Conte thing happened this season. They're both gone now. It feels like years ago, doesn't it?
Years ago, yeah. Was that like the 3rd or 4th game week, wasn't it?
It
was still sunny,
handbags over nothing, and they're both sacked before the end of the season.
Tuchel nearly took his job, only for Munich came in. I reckon he'd have took the Spurs job if Munich hadn't come in, which would have been hilarious.
Oh, amazing! But yeah, you're looking strong there, Andy. But yeah,
hopefully 100-point week. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, mate. But I think there'll be a lot of them. I think this week if things go to plan with the bench boost. But yeah, let's have a look at your lot, Chris. I know you got some tentative transfers in there, as you said before. Moreno coming in. You've definitely piqued my interest with that one.
Moreno's very much under the radar. I think his ownership's at like 0.3 or something, but I've had him in the draft team for the last month or so now, and he's been returning quite frequently. The problem for that move for me is that it'll be a -4, so it would either be taking Pinnock out, which I've got on that, the one that's on screen at the moment, or it'd be taking Zinchenko out. So then you've got the double game to maybe get the points back, and obviously moving on the Arsenal assets is something I'm thinking of over the next couple of weeks. But I don't want to miss out on what will probably be the haul against Leeds, because you kind of expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet there, and Zinchenko kind of slits more into that left midfield role than he does left back in games where Arsenal are on top. So as we saw earlier in the season, that sort of left-hand side of Zinchenko, Jesus now that he's back, and Odegaard or Saka, it was paying dividends earlier this season, and I imagine it will fall into the same sort of role very quickly once everybody's back up and running. So got a decision to make on there. The other one is I'm going to have to get rid of Saka to bring in Fernandes.
Controversy, mate.
Yeah, I mean it's financial more than anything, because I need the money to bring in Haaland the following week for Tony. or
I think
Havertz.
everyone has to remember.
Yeah. So because I've tried it with Odegaard, like going through a couple of weeks on team, and it requires me then making 1 or 2 extra transfers to get things where I want. So it's a 4 or 8 point hit, which isn't going to be worth it. Whereas next week I can just do it as 1 transfer, no hit, and that'll be fine.
Can you go to like a 4 point odd million like midfielder like Andreas, Chris?
Possibly, but
I think that'd be a better option than getting rid of Saka, because Odegaard's been the one who's not been performing recently.
Well, you say this, Andrew.
Well, we've got short memories, haven't we, Chris? It's 1 week.
Hit him with some XG.
Go on, Chris. Get him.
I was just going to say, over the last 6 weeks, Saka's outscored Odegaard twice, Odegaard's outscored Saka twice, and they've had equal points in 2 game weeks. So the point difference does lean towards Saka because his ceiling is higher, but there are definitely weeks where Odegaard scores more points than Saka. Yeah. So I think in terms of that and not having to take a 4 point hit, it's going to be better in the long run for me to take out Saka at this point.
But then again, Fulham have got Bournemouth, West Ham, and Everton. They've got some good fixtures there.
Yeah, but they've not got a striker. So
I know, but Andres could get you about 8 points, easy enough.
In a bench boost week, though, because you're bench boosting, aren't you, Chris? Well, because if you were carrying Andres on the bench, maybe that would make sense. But no doubles at all.
Yeah, that's it.
Not until 34 when their double is City at home, Liverpool away.
Yeah, I mean, it is a possibility. There's so many ways you can kind of tinker around with things at the minute, but I'm trying to minimize hits because I'm still trying to play catch up with people. So that's why I might not even do the Merino move. Might just make the Saka to Fernandes move next week. Do Tony out when he's suspended because he's undoubtedly going to get a yellow card in the next 2 games. And then
the first one.
Get Haaland back in, and then keep 2 Arsenal players for the Leeds game because, as we've already said, they could easily outscore double game weekers in that thing anyway. And then my other single game weeker would be Harry Kane, who, he's against Everton. You'd fancy him to get a return there. And then captain Fernandes or Rashford. Jobs are good.
I love it. A lot of people won't be able to get to Bruno. That might be a differential-ish kind of captain. I know you'll be heavily captain, but there's it's going to be a barrier for some, though, especially people.
Yeah, that's it. We'll see. I think I'm fairly happy with it. And then, I mean, the only one on there that's a real differential, I think, is Billing from Bournemouth, and I'll probably move him on for March by the time the next Brighton doubles roll around. So because that Bournemouth double, Fulham at home and Brighton at home, he's like
it's a good double,
the guy that sets everything up. So not too shabby with that. Predicted 133 points. So
I like it.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Well, on to your lot, Jamesy, again via our friends at FPL.team. March sitting on the captaincy at the minute. Is that a decision made? Or?
No, that was just that's just an accident. Yeah, no, it's I don't know how it ended up there, to be honest. This is with my tentative my transfer plan. I have 3 Arsenal at the moment, and my plan most likely is I'll keep Saka for now. It's either sell him or Odegaard, and I do prefer Saka. I just think he has penalties as well, and that's always a good. Even
I think he's got the highest ceiling. Sort of.
Yeah, even in difficult games, they might get a penalty and that kind of thing. So I'll hold on to him for a while anyway. So it means selling Odegaard for Bruno and selling Ben White for Luke Shaw. And like I kind of explained it earlier, I just think get on Triple United now. They have either a good fixture every week between now and the end of the season, or they have a double. So I think having their 3 best assets will, I might take a hit on it this week in terms of I can see Odegaard getting points, I can see Ben White getting points against Leeds, but I think the United lads can make up those points. Like you're getting 3 extra games between now and the end of the season on the Arsenal guys. You know what I mean? Like United have 3 extra games to play on them because in the week the United blank, I'm going to be playing my free hit and I'd be bringing Arsenal guys in on that as well. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of getting the best of both worlds. And you are avoiding, like, there are some very sticky Arsenal fixtures between now and I think it's 34, 35. I think they play City, they play Liverpool, they play Chelsea, they play Newcastle. They're not great fixtures for Arsenal. And yeah, I don't know what's, like, I try to be honest about the bench boost. There's no point in putting Rashford, Fernandes and Salah on your bench and saying that's your bench boost. I think that's an honest enough bench boost that I have.
I mean, Saka and Kane. I mean,
and I don't know. Like, you could maybe put Rico Henry on the bench instead of one of those. You know, like. But I've tried to be as honest enough about it. I'm happy enough with that. Kane away to Everton, Saka at home to Leeds, double for Villa, double for Brentford with the keeper. I'm happy to get rid of the bench boost with that and just get it out of the way, get what I can out of it. I think this game week, as a general rule, I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as people think it is. Like, I was looking at the fixtures. We're all going to have a lot of players playing against each other. You know what I mean? Like, like United play Brentford. So like I have 2 United attackers and 2 Brentford defenders. So like, you know, if my United players do well, my Brentford players are going to fail. If my Brentford players do well, it means my United players have blanked. My captain, Rashford, who'd most likely be, is going to blank. You know what I mean? So there's I think it's Newcastle play United. Like, a lot of people will have Newcastle defenders and United defenders, you know, and they'll have a United attackers. So like, there's a lot of these games in the double game week. Brentford play Brighton. You know what I mean? Most people have 3 Brentford playing against 3 Brighton. What outcome do you want there? If it's 0-0, your attackers have failed. If one scores heavily, you know, so we
want it both ways, don't we? We want to be like, oh, Brentford have got a great fixture. Brighton have got a great fixture too.
Yeah, exactly. And we have defenders and attackers from both teams. Like that double game week 27 was great because we had 3 Brentford, 3 Brighton. They didn't play each other and they both had nice games. So it was like in that game week, all 6 returned. There's a lot of games in this where it's not possible for all your players to return in the game because they're playing each other. So I just don't think it's going to be the massive bumper game week that people think it is. But these are players we all have, so it's not like someone's going to streak ahead with it, like with a different team. Like every team I see on Twitter is 80%. Like, even all of our teams have been 80% similar, I would say. You know what I mean? That there's nobody out there with a particularly maverick team. Like the differences are, some people, like I have double Brentford defense. Some people have double Newcastle defense. It's little things like that. It's which Brighton player you have. Like, you know, maybe this week McAllister goes mad and gets a 20-pointer and March doesn't, you know. Having Haaland can be a differential this week. Like, as I said, if he does play, it will be the lowest ownership Haaland will have in any game this season. Like his EO will be under 100 for probably the only time this season. It's literally the only time Haaland's points will actually bring your rank up if he does do well. Things like that, you know what I mean? But yeah, like, and there's things in my team I'm not happy about. Double Brentford defense in 2 fixtures that aren't great. I'm not particularly happy about that. I don't have Ben Chilwell, and most of the top 10K have Ben Chilwell. It's still easy. And he has huge potential. And like, Chelsea's double is okay. It's Villa at home. It's 2 home games. Villa home, Liverpool at home. Chilwell could be a big problem for me. That there's half of me thinking, do I not go for Shaw and go for Chilwell instead? But then it gets messy because it leaves me just about enough money to go Tony to Haaland next. If there's a few price changes, I can no longer afford Haaland if I go for Chilwell. So things like that, you know what I mean? Like, it's, I have a bit of trepidation about this game week. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
No, I can see it. And, you know, speaking of your team, and you mentioned there Haaland. I mean, we looked at my team before, so we'll stick around too long. But that is that's the true battle this week, James. It's Haaland versus Watkins if Haaland plays. That's what I'll be marking down on my little spreadsheet.
That's the spreadsheet. Like, that'll be the difference. Yeah.
You guys have talked a bit of sense into me. I'm waving. You know, I haven't got it highlighted anymore. The bench boost. I'll probably end up back on it again. I've got my line in the sand. If it ends up looking like, 12 or more points, I might take a hard long look at alternative routes. But when those alternative routes include probably having to triple captain a Newcastle player somewhere, I think I know I'm onto a loser. So yeah, things that I probably have to really break down for me to go that way. But yeah, I'll be looking at possibilities. Like I say, Ward to Steele is very, very likely, and it's probably a Brighton midfielder coming in for Odegaard, which does give me a little bit of money to play about with White. So might go same route as Chris. I just checked, I'm 0.1 off being able to get Chilwell. That's unfortunate.
He's
but
expensive, yeah.
Yeah, 6, isn't he now? That's not happening. But there's options there, and like you say, there's definitely merit to just maybe not overthinking on that bench boost, getting it done, and it's coming in a week as well. If anyone is out there, it's not. We're not turning into full Mr. Chips, Andy, but a lot of people are going to be taking hits, aren't they? So it's not the worst week to do so. We're influencing Connor here, by the way. He said change his bar card every time one of us speaks. Sorry, mate.
Well, funnily enough, when Jamesy were talking then about Brentford and Brentford players, well, I had Raya in net, and I've just been on my team and put Ramsdale in instead of Raya. Just like, they've not got good fixtures. I'm changing my team by the minute here.
Which is funny because I got Henry and Pinnock in knowing about this fixture, not even thinking about that. Do you actually want them for that double once you get there?
But it's
the other double was good though,
Yeah, it's the thing we forget though, that Brentford and Brighton are both very, very good teams. So
top 8. Yeah, 8 teams.
Yeah, that's true too.
At the end of the day, you brought in a Brentford player, and you're getting 5 fixtures in 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even in appearance points.
And someone like Rico Henry does get forward quite a lot. He mightn't keep a clean sheet, but he does get high up the pitch, especially when they play. They play 3 at the back in harder games, so they probably will play 3 at the back against United, which means Rico Henry will be even further up the pitch playing as a wing back, So it's not, you could easily nick a goal or an assist or something like that as well, So
that's it. So yeah, overall, quite happy. But yeah, we should go into some of the leagues as we're sitting at the minute. Jamesy, you're sitting second there in the GRAPPL League behind.
Just before you do that, Benno, is everybody just Rashford captain or?
Oh, good point. Yeah,
and Rashford.
I'm sitting on Matoma, but that's only because of the flag. I think in reality it's Rashford.
Yeah, I don't know, Benno. I'm more and more looking at Matoma, thinking that's a lovely set of fixtures. It's a nice. They have the best double. He scored again during the week for Japan. He scored a header. You're like, Jesus, another type of goal that he can score. I don't know. It's a tough-ish couple of games for United and Matoma. If you look at Matoma's points. He ticks away. He's 7, 8, 13. You put any of those 2 game weeks together, and it's a nice double. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And he would be a lovely differential. If you did get on him and he did haul, I would say the majority will be Rashford this week. I say there'll be quite a few Bruno Fernandes. If people take hits for Bruno, they might want to compensate for the hit by captaining him as well. So there's that.
True.
I don't know.
That's been my thought. Yeah.
Brentford home, Bournemouth away for Matoma. Very nice. Definitely going to play 2 90s probably. I think about it more, but I don't know.
The thing with him is that he's very similar to Heung-min Son in that he consistently overperforms his XG and his XA. So his XG and XA for the season is 3.2 in each category, and he's got 6 goals and he's got 6 assists. So. Will that come back to the mean and he'll just go for a spell where he's not scoring anything, or will it be like those seasons where Son's had, where he just consistently scores?
Is he just a good finisher?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
He's always going to do that.
Yeah.
And
so
also,
that's kind of.
I only need it for 1 week,
Exactly. Yeah.
He can revert to the mean in 6 months, but I just need him to score a couple of goals in the next weekend, So it's
feels like a lottery too, though, isn't it? It could be McAllister's week, it could be March's week, it could be all 3 of that week, couldn't it? As we saw in the last
time,
it could be your man Evan Ferguson. It could be the big man Danny Welbeck. It could be Uturu or whatever his name is.
And looking, Maddison has a lovely double as well. If you could be sure he'd play the 2 games, Palace away, Villa at home.
But his points total last few weeks 4, 2, 1, 0, 2. Sounds like a phone number, doesn't it?
Sounds like JP reading out betting odds on GRAPPL.
His ATM code.
Just make sure you include the word on.
It's the thing with Leicester, though. It's like if you could be certain that Maddison and Iniacho would be playing all the time, you'd get them in. But
We'd
it's
all
like,
have them, yeah.
Can't trust
but it's
them.
like, for me, like if you're looking at Iniacho, I'd probably not Iniacho, Maddison. I'd look at Ben Rama or somebody like that who's cheaper and you can use the money elsewhere. I still think you're going to get the similar sort of return. He's got penalties as well now. West Ham, I don't think they've got a double this week, but they've got very good fixtures coming up.
But they do. They have a lovely double. They've 2 home games. Yeah, they have.
This week, yeah.
Southampton, and they've
Newcastle.
another, and they double again in 34. So you're,
If I was forced to get rid of Haaland, like Danny Ings is right there, you know what I mean? I'd have a lot of money to play with if it turned out he ended up red flagged, and I need a different bench boost.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
You think
who would you bring in, Benno? Yeah, if the word does come in,
Bruno,
Isaac.
That'd be
I'd look at Isaac as well, Benno. Yeah,
Isaac. I could probably.
I would look
Salah,
at Isaac. Yeah, you could get to Salah. Yeah, exactly.
That's a differential, isn't it? And Salah in a double game week is a differential. That's a statement you didn't think you did, isn't it? But not many.
Like you could sell Haaland and say one of the lads you wanted to sell on the bench, like sell Haaland and sell Odegaard, get Salah in, and you'd still have money for, I would imagine, an Isaac or a Ings or Havertz or one of these guys, and then your bench boost becomes stronger as well because you'd put Salah in the team.
I put him on the bench, mate. I go full troll.
But like suddenly, then Saka is on your bench, and your bench looks better all of a sudden. You know what I mean? So that's another way. There's creative ways to make your bench boost better as well than not just changing the bench.
Definitely. Well, but see, that could be a route if Haaland doesn't play. But with that all sorted, we should get into the leagues, and we should look at the draft first. That's been topsy-turvy over the last few game weeks. I can't help but notice. I felt like I was rising. Jamesy, you're not far behind me there, climbing up the league. It's like the actual Premier League, isn't it? Where there's like 9 teams you could theoretically right now. Like you just
the relegation battle is amazing. Like
you look at it like Palace. Oh, they're safe. No, they're not. Like they're like 3 points away from like whoever's bottom. It's one of them, and I think the GRAPPL League, the Draft League, very much reflects that right now. Obviously, Eddie's still sitting on top there, but anyone's game there. Andy, graps and claps up to second.
I had a free week the previous week because I were playing Matty and Man City blanked, didn't they? So I would do.
Pass them at a good time, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's it. Well, you're doing good, mate. And overall, it's competitive. Obviously, Europe there is as well. Chris in the mix there in the Champions League places, bench warmers. I'm looking at you and Gareth, wondering if I can catch you. But
well, it was the last week. It was you versus I, wasn't it? And I thought I'd got the win, and then that Arsenal result happened, and you still got half the Arsenal team. Yeah. Saka,
I was good. Did you have Jesus? When did you get him, by the way? Because I went to the free agents the moment it looked like he was back in training and he was already in your squad, and I was like, God damn it!
Oh, I've had Jesus since the draft. Yeah, I've had him since. I never let him go. Yeah, he's been on the bench all the time.
Wise move.
Yeah.
Look at that. The Arsenal lads, 34 points from the 3 of them.
It's not. I just miss it. It was more aesthetically pleasing when I had like 5 of them. I might try and get back up to those numbers again, get some of the hangers on.
Because I thought I'd done quite well because I brought in a few Villa lads. So I already had Marino, but then I brought in Matty Cash and Douglas Luiz, and they both returned. And I was like, that's got to be the difference. And then it was just didn't happen.
Yeah, this week I had Tyrone Mings 12 and Isaac 13 points. When I got off Chris in that Tony exchange.
It was another one of those weeks
that saved us,
wasn't it? Where there was a lot of competition in the old transaction window. A lot of people looking at a lot of the same.
It's not falling off at all. Like it's like I remember last year. I was in the draft every week I had I was top of the league, but I was getting my pick up because everyone else had lost interest, and I was just picking up. I love him. It's anyone at all who's halfway decent that's available. It's getting snapped up straight away. Like it's great to see the interest has held all the way down the league. Like everybody's engaged and everybody's on the ball and getting the best players and all that. And
I think we'll see quite a few midfield.
Your team's on screen just because I was going to point out he grabbed Trossard, which was the one I think literally every team in the league went for.
I got rid of Trossard because I think he went off injured the week before. Got shot because maybe because I just needed bodies to beat Matty, and I played Eddie the week before as well.
You want to talk about Eddie? He's in the chat there, like Johnny there with his 3 points. Managed to score and get sent off. Was it him who got sent off when he was on the bench? Wasn't there somebody that happened to with Eddie? I swear, in one of these recent weeks. It's one of them. It gives and takes away, doesn't it? The fancy.
We'll just say on the draft. For the third time this season, I've brought in a player who hasn't missed the game all year to then miss the game that I brought them in for. And it happened with Freuler at Forest. He'd started every game of the season and then didn't play in the one. Wait, I think he came on with like 10 minutes to go. And I was just like, how is this consistently happening? It's just
you found a little diamond in the rough.
That was it. I just went through his thing. He's like 90 minutes. I was like, this is the guy. I just need 2 points. And then, he played 30 minutes. It's just like...
Chris Elliott just reminded me it was him in the chat. It was
Mateus Nunes. Yeah.
Nunes, that
minus
was what
3
it was.
there. Look, Mateus. He didn't play and he got the -3.
We were saying, I remember that because that was the game where it was like nobody in the proper game had any Wolves or Leeds players. All the other games were like boring 0-0 draws at half time. This one was kicking off. It was fucking goals at both ends, everything going on. And then, he got sent off, didn't he? Like without even being brought on the pitch. And it was like my first thought was, who's got him in the draft?
Any other week he played 0 minutes, so he would have got benched. But because it was the blank game week, all his subs were 0 as well, so he had to stay on the pitch. Nightmare.
Devastating. There you go. That's the.
We have to give William a shout out. Williams had his moment.
Yeah.
There we go.
2 wins in a row now, I think, is it?
Is it 2 in a row now? Yeah.
I think so. I think that's what he said. Or 2 out of the last 3. He's fighting for survival.
Yeah, he's off the bottom, I think, isn't he?
Off the bottom.
Yeah.
So there we go. Will Cooling. 33-11 to poor Chris. And then there you go. He beat Jordan by 1 point.
By a point, yeah. I think that went down to the
really
bonus points in the last game, if I remember rightly as well. They were talking about it in the chat.
One of those good ones. I like those ones. It goes down like that. Yeah. There you go. Will's climbing up the mire as well. Matty's getting dragged into it. That's it. He's been talking it for a while. I almost think he's talked himself into the relegation zone. But he's made quite a few transactions recently. He's trying to shore up that side. But I think it's making it even more interesting. It's the blanks and doubles, isn't it? Because you're looking at it's like, do you look short term? Do you accept that when a blank game week comes along, fuck it, I've lost.
Take the loss,
away, so I'm not going to break my team, for the rest of the season for it. It's keeps things interesting anyway. And everything to play for in the money places, everything to play for in relegation terms. Sorry, Connor. And like I say, Jamesy, you're climbing out the mire, so hopefully you're leaving those lads behind there. But there we go. I mean, suppose coming up this week, who've we got? I've got Eddie. JP's got Matty, Jamesy, and Andy. There you go.
I was looking. You've got a lot of doublers, Andy. I had a sneaky look at your team.
I have, yes.
Have you got 11?
I think I might have.
I think I've
15 by tomorrow. That transaction window's coming.
There's a lot of midfielders that are worth looking at. I think
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 doublers I've got.
Wow, there you go. That's
Yeah.
strong. I mean, yeah, I was going to say, I'll literally I'm looking at the deadline, obviously Saturday morning, but it's in my brain now. The 24 hours before that, at half 11 on a Friday when the draft game refreshes. That's always fun because you can have a little play with
I'll be
free
there.
agents in the double week as well. Can't you?
Effie's
See
big grey
everyone there.
brunch will be on the television there, Beto, for your keep you company.
Two screens going.
Or whatever
It'll
fucking
be great.
ECW show. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just concentrate on the FPL. So there we go. That's the update on the draft. And yeah, I suppose finally, I was going to bring up then the overall GRAPPL League. As I say, Jamesy sitting pretty in second. Mark Bleakley continues to dominate. Who's I don't know what his overall is in the world at this point. Overall rank 134th at this point.
Forget it. There's no catching him. Like he's.
Oh, that's all we
throw him out. No, just people we know should be allowed in. I think.
You know what? I can do it. I might wait till game week 38. You know, the game week 37 stream. I'll go in and do it then.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. You look at his team from last week, and I know he's 134th, but he only got 45 points. If he'd have captained Saka, he could have been probably in the top 50 or so. Yeah, just been like that would have been a massive swing for him because he captained Tony on a 2-pointer.
That's quite risky, isn't it, considering where he is in the world? Like, you know, like you were saying, James, about watching what's behind you and stuff. Like, Tony's bold, like when you're in that mix.
Yeah, I'd like it was Leicester at home though, so I mean,
yeah, I suppose.
Is it any better a fixture than Spurs having Southampton at home or Palace away for Arsenal? You know,
fair point.
It's a decent pick, like and I suppose he was thinking like no one else is going to have him, so if I get it right, I'm really playing for the win, like you know.
That's it. Well, we're supporting him. He's one of our own. We're not kicking him out the league. He's one of our own.
We will find him. We will find him.
He'll turn out he's a massive wrestling fan. He's just one of us.
He'll turn out to be that FPL NWO guy.
Yeah, we love that guy. Maybe it's him. Yeah, we need to have him on as well.
You have to get them on Spotlight or something, Ben, or on here if they'd come on. Yeah.
We're the only two entities, I think, in this same niche of being
honestly, the perfect crossover. We're the only people who truly get their jokes, like.
That's it, and he spends a lot of time on them as well. Honestly.
Yeah.
It's great stuff. But yeah, I got James from Planet FPL to give us some WrestleMania predictions on their last stream as well. So he's a closet wrestling fan as well. So yeah, he reckons Roman Reigns is going to win. So yeah, I guess we'll see. He's right about most FPL things, probably not about that. But that's it. So yeah, at the top, Gareth is still climbing 12th. The man, marching by the beat of his own drum. He's on my little spreadsheet as far as teams I'm monitoring. He's not used his wild card yet. He's quite similar to me as far as chips go. Apart from, I think he's used the triple captain already, but he's flying. So yeah, might have to watch over your shoulder there, Jamesy. Mings as well for him.
I think he did play a wild card in an unusual week, like way before all of us, kind of a thing, and that's what's shot him up the league. Like he's. I could be wrong now, but I thought I saw him play it maybe in like 24 or 22 or something like that. Or
do you get to it? It's is it game week history you go to get the whether they've used the wild card or not? Normally, it's transfer history. It's on there. Oh no, it's not. It must be game week history. I didn't think he had.
I could be wrong now, but I think he nailed the wild card and just has had green arrow after green arrow after green arrow since he.
Look at those green arrows. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, wild card game week 19. It was for
19, right? Yeah.
Triple as well. Yeah, but yeah, I like that about Gareth. He's not paying attention to any of these.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
I think if anything, he's going against it on purpose to prove a point. It's working for him, at the minute.
I mean, you say that, but you look at his team, and it still kind of fell into a lot of the same slots. Like he's got Raya, he's got Trippier, Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka, Tony, Kane. So even if you're not looking at outside advice, like he's got Haaland, Estupiñán, and Rashford on his bench as well. It's like you still, if you're a good enough player and you look at the data yourself, you're probably going to end up with the same sort of thoughts anyway. I don't think I'd end up with two Wolves players, but
that's the big red flag there, isn't it?
That must be from that double game week they had. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And in fairness, that guy Sarabia scored. He got like 15 points that game week. So I mean, it was worth the punt for him.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fine.
And then what is it? Is that Wesley Fofana, or is he the lad that broke his leg at Chelsea?
Yeah, he's back now.
Yeah.
He's back now.
Yeah.
There we go. That's a little one off the beaten track there, but yeah, Gareth's flying up the league there. But yeah, outside of that, in the top world, Jordan's in the mix there as well, up to 18th at this point. Can't see my name, don't expect to. But yeah, that's really. I'm 58th apparently. I'll take that. It's not too bad. But yeah, going all the way to the
only 10 or so ahead of me now.
Oh really? Oh shit!
The comeback's on.
These wild carders
Get those chips played, Benno.
I know. I'll end up not using them. I need to.
Imagine you just didn't use them for the whole season. It's just not the perfect time for me.
That'll be the true Maverick move, wouldn't it? I've always fancied that free hit on the final day as well. You know, when people do that.
Oh yeah.
There's a part of me that likes that, but I don't think I'll do it.
I think if you could go the whole year without using your chips, when you get to the end, you can cash them in for the average score of the chip for the whole season or something.
Yeah, should count. I'd like that. There you go. But yeah, Roberto Carlos still sitting bottom there in the law. I'm not seeing many other names that I recognise. Good to see Arlock kind of climbing out of it. I recognise Jordan Varley, but outside of that, in the bottom law, I think everyone's kind of out of the mire. I feel bad, but I'm basically looking for Will Martin and Matty, but they're all nowhere near. Rob Reed used to be near the top there. I think he might have just lost him.
He must have given up.
Yeah, near the bottom there. There's Martin 127. Not doing too bad. Not in the mix at the bottom. There's Will 125, so they can play against each other.
Yeah.
There's your Jeff.
Matty 136.
Yeah, he's like Mr. Minus touch our Jeff each week. It's like fours and 8s, and every move he makes, it's just backfiring against him. Just not having the luck.
Oh, nice one. Sorry, Connor. I just realised I was sharing the wrong screen there. But yeah, there you go. That's the main league on the screen there. But there you go. Battle at the bottom as well going on. So yeah, plenty to fight for at both ends of the table. But there we go. That's it for us. For I suppose another FPL club. I suppose the doubles and blanks are still going, so we're probably back in a couple of weeks, I reckon. So to check in with plans, I'll let you know whether I've used me chips or not, and we'll see how this week the double game week goes. Check back in to see how we're all doing and how we're all still faring for the rest of the week. But yeah, unless there's anything else, anything from you lads, anything you want to plug, anything else to mention?
No. Download the GRAPPL app, patreon.com/GRAPPL.
The Time podcast on GRAPPL. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. If people are watching who don't like wrestling, you can watch that. It's if you have any bit of nostalgia for the 90s, absolutely brilliant. Really, really good.
The lads did so good on that one. It was perfect for like the Saturday night entertainment as well. Yeah. Probably we put it up for that as well. But I was just the only annoying thing is that BBC trying to take us down.
It is better on the YouTube than on the audio is brilliant, obviously, but the YouTube just adds a little bit extra, I think, just to see what they're talking about.
Oh yeah, definitely check. Get it while it's hot. Get it while it's still there. It's not been taken down. If ITV get into a mood, or the estate of Kurt Cobain get into a mood, and unfortunately, that's up there on the GRAPPL YouTube. But yeah, like I say, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. But go forth, folks. Good luck in double game week 29. We'll catch you again very soon,
Johnny.
Good night, all.